That was Come and Get It, the opening track for the new Whitesnake album. And to come and get it, I've come down to the big city to talk to number one sex object, raconteur, singer extraordinaire, Mr. David Coverdale. Good afternoon, David.
Good afternoon, Philip.
What brings you to this part of London on a Sunday afternoon?
To talk with you, my favourite scouse.
Can I say, without going over the top or whatever on platitudes, that I think this is possibly the strongest Whitesnake album to date, and we're very pleased in Liverpool to receive it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm glad you like it. You know, it's when you're working on an album, one of the insecurities is because if you're enjoying it, that other people are going to dig it as well. That's the most important thing. It's the best we could do at the time.
How long was it in this particular one, in the sort of writing to recording and finished product stage? Was it a long one to do, or
yeah,
the same as the other?
It wasn't usually the concentrated sort of work we do, because we were working so busily last year. We had to do it like 2 weeks at a time, and then break off to do an American tour, then come back and do 2 weeks or whatever. All in all, it was like a 6-month period, but the actual recording was about a month, and mixing. Well, actually, just a bit longer than the other stuff. But it's much tighter now. The band, we all seem to be getting more mature and growing up in terms of performance. And I still believe that Ian Pace coming in was put the icing on the cake, because that is really laid the foundation of the band.
What about the material for the album? Were you oversubscribed with stuff, and did you have a problem as to deciding which tracks to put on it, or had you got a fairly good idea before you started it?
No, well, we were so busy, as I say. We more or less wrote most of the album in the studio, because we went straight in after the last UK tour, and we all had little bits and pieces which we put together. Some were thrown out and some were worked on. There's a thing that I arranged with John Lord that we recorded in a chapel of an old blues song that was either written by Peter Green or some Munchen or John Hurt, called Need Your Love So Bad. Splendid, come in. Back in. You and your hamburgers. Edit point.
You were saying that you'd actually lost perspective of the album because you'd been so close to it. You were not able to stand back and make a decision as to whether it was a good one or a bad one or whatever earlier on.
Yeah, that was difficult. It was I was locked in the rooms writing sort of lyrics and things, trying to get it together, and I think overworked on it. And at the end I couldn't sort of look with any perspective and go, well, that's good. It was like, is it? But I'm very pleased with it now. I'm certainly pleased with the reaction that I've been getting from people, who've heard like radio play when it was supposed to not to be played on the radio. But it's good. I'm very pleased with the reaction so far. I just, I hope it satisfies people. I'm looking forward to doing a lot of it in concert, definitely.
How would you? This, of course, is the interminable problem of bands bringing out new material. Is how much of the old stuff that the fans want to hear do you leave out to make room for the new stuff? I mean, is that a difficult decision to plan?
Well, it will be. I've sort of had some ideas. I'm sure the band have had some ideas. There are certain songs that I don't think we'd get away with the skin of our teeth, or whatever the expression is, if we didn't play them. There's certain songs which mean an immense amount to people. But the band have got to be excited about the material to present it live. You know what I mean? We definitely have to play a lot of this new stuff, because get and blow the dust off some of the old standards. But I think we'll kick some ass.
Well, having listened to the album, there are certainly within both sides of this album some potential great stage numbers. One which we'll hear later, but in particular there's the second track on side 2, which you're coming to now, Hot Stuff, which has got a real earthy feel to it, and that presumably will be a contender for a possible stage number.
Yeah, well, I reckon. Well, I don't want to give any secrets away, but I reckon that's going to be great. It's going to be different, I think. I think we'll explore the instrumental part a bit more, because Pace is stunning on the actual recording. I'd like to explore that a little more. But it's funny, actually, when we first recorded Hot Stuff, I hadn't done the vocals on the song, and we had a month's break between the recordings. We were in Europe or somewhere, and it started sounding like lukewarm stuff. You know what I mean? So I had a bit of a row with the band and said, I really think we ought to try it again. And after much deliberation and fighting and bloodshed, we got that track, which is certainly Hot Stuff rather than lukewarm. But that should be a good one live. everybody in Liverpool should get the dust off the tonsils as well, because there's going to be a hell of a lot for them to sing.
There we go, that's Hot Stuff from the new Whitesnake album, Come and Get It, and we're talking to David Coverdale and going through some of the tracks on the new album. We come on to the next track on the album, which is the single. Was there a difficult decision choosing that as a single, or was that done for you by the record company?
Yeah, well, we did exactly the same as with Ready and Willing. It's the old way of presenting an album to the record company and leaving it up to them, you know. I like the idea of that song. It's a very personal song. It took an enormous amount out of me to write and perform that song. And I'm curious to see what will happen. I would have thought that with all that kind of male chauvinist, sexist piggism that is levelled at us, that something like Come and Get It or Would I Lie to You, apart from the oblique reference to taking a lady's clothes off, would have been more, you know, or even Wine, Women and Song, you know, with its little reference to the Fleet Street people.
They certainly, talking to the Fleet Street people, have certainly got on that bandwagon, maybe not so much recently, but certainly some months ago, this sexist slant against the band.
I don't know, I just saw something by Robbie Miller, who, from what I gather from a few ladies who've written to me, that they think I was scared of it when I did an interview with her last year, which wasn't the point. I mean, she's a kid, you know, really. But she's just given us a terrific review. Now, I don't know whether we're not sexist anymore or whatever, but that's great if we've made her a convert to the gospel of the... Well, I don't know, it's crazy. Throughout my time with my former group, I don't mean the Fabulosa Brothers, I never saw a good review anywhere, and yet people loved the band very dearly. And I've always been worried about getting good press, because we've always done great in live concerts. Now we're getting good press. I'm wondering whether we're going to continue to be successful. When I read personal slagging or personal remarks in reviews, then I do get a bit angry and I want to put the geezer's lights out. I'll put a contract on them or something if they're too big. Sometimes it can hurt, you know, but usually it's like water off a duck's back. The important thing for me and the musicians, any musician, it should be to please the audience and not the press.
Right. And certainly the audience on this upcoming tour in May seem to be ready to be pleased, with most of the dates having already sold out or about to be sold out.
It's very reassuring, yeah.
And talking of that subject, we come on to, I suppose, the thorny problem that we cannot avoid.
Thorny?
Well, that as well.
Thorny.
The D-side versus Liverpool Empire saga, which started one windy night back in whenever, when we spoke to you on the telephone.
Oh yeah, the domesticated Coverdale.
Yes.
I had a letter or two about that. And I'm supposed to be a Viking privately as well as professionally, I gather. Looting, pillaging and raping all the time.
Well, as you know, we spoke that time about whether the band were coming to D-side or the Empire. We now know, of course, the band are coming to D-side, but it's not as straightforward as that, as we've been at great pains to point out on the programme, but maybe we could just go over it again.
Yeah, sure.
Basically, just to remind the listeners, the band have not been invited to play the Liverpool Empire. I think that's a fairly polite way of putting it, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know, I'm really not happy about it at all. The Liverpool Empire authorities sent us a letter. We're banned from there. I mean, which is, I can't believe it. There's never been any trouble when we've played there. And it really left us no choice after we discussed on the phone, because I spoke to the agent and things. And suddenly this letter arrived, which really gave us no choice whatsoever. And Magnet, my tour manager, whose opinions I trust 100%, went up to check everything out for us, and he said, to be perfectly honest, David, you wouldn't enjoy looking at the Empire now, because they've made some enormous orchestra pit there, which is going to give about 25 feet, keep the audience at about 25 feet, you know, and they've done it out like some kind of chocolate box, you know, Swiss clock, you know. But we're taking great pains, and I assure people that we really are on the case that we want to provide more transport facilities and cater for the audience to get to D-side, because we've seen all the letters that you were kind enough to send to us, pro and against doing D-side. And we're really going to cover everything more than I think that anybody's ever done in that circumstance. to get people there and back safely.
What about in the theatre itself? I think one of the problems that was raised was the height of the stage. People saying that if they weren't near the front, they couldn't see the band because the stage wasn't high enough.
Well, this is something that you mentioned to me before, and this is another reason I wanted Magna to check it out. And I think we're raising the stage and curtaining off certain areas and flying an immense amount of PA, maybe even putting a quad PA in, so that certainly people are going to be hearing me swear at them to sing. You know, I swear to God, we're really going to do everything we can to make our side of it adequate. Do you know what I mean? And it's up to the noise of the audience to compensate for the size of the gig, which I think they will.
I think it's fair to say, if people aren't already aware of it, that you have got rather a large soft spot for Liverpool, haven't you?
Yeah, well, Liverpool, immediately when we played Liverpool, at the very early days of Whitesnake, and obviously since my Purple days, have really made us feel like stars. Not in the snooty sense or big-headed sense, but made us feel as if it was we were doing the right thing. You know what I mean? And I don't believe in cutting the roots away from that kind of growth. You've got to look after the roots. You know, Liverpool is certainly an immense part of my career. A launching pad, if you like, and I ain't going to neglect them at all. And if anybody feels that I am, then I'm very sorry, but you must be blind and deaf.
Let's have another track from the album, While You Light Your Fag. This is Lonely Days and Lonely Nights. Is there any particular story behind this? I know
this is like my, contrary to being being this Viking that I'm described. At times I feel very lonely. If you listen to songs like Only My Soul, Blind Man, stuff like that. Those are totally sincere feelings that I have, and Lonely Days, Lonely Nights is like a continuum of that, because for some reason I still have that streak going through me, and I like this song very much. It's a super solo from Mickey Moody.
There we go, that was Lonely Days and Lonely Nights off side one of the new Whitesnake album, Come and Get It, with Mickey Moody in fine form on that track. Album is the one that I feel is going to be a killer when, hopefully, without giving any secrets away, you do it live on the forthcoming tour, Wine, Women and Song, which I would also suggest is probably the biggest area for any feminist lobbyists to tackle you on. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek, I would say. Wine, Women and Song.
Actually, it's not so much tongue-in-cheek. It's a rock and roll statement, but a light-hearted one, not a over-the-top serious thing, which is what the press, that rock against or sexism or whatever it is. It's just a good rock and roll song, and I think it's going to be better live. Once again, get your Hobson's Choice in tune, because you'll be singing it with us. The first part is just a little personal statement to the press. That I'm not really that interested in pleasing them. I'm interested in pleasing, the audience. That's it. And it's a song about how we feel. Give me a good time, woman, and a love potion, bottle of booze. Or German heavy water, as we have.
Let's go straight into that track anyway. Last track on side one of the album. This is Wine, Women and Song. We'll be back after that track and a break.
Day of the recording, and the vocals were done on the last day. I had to talk Marsden into the idea of the song because he thought it was too much Chaz and Dave. I can't believe it. I think Lordy plays great on that. Whatever. It's on the album anyway.
What are the, these are the interminable interview questions, but I think people like
I'm used to yours.
People like to know them. You should know all of them.
Aye.
What are the sort of 1981, early 82 Whitesnake plans? And presumably it's America and...
Well, yeah, it seems that people are going to work us to the bone. We've got looming this European tour, and we have 4 days off, and we're straight into the UK tour. Then we have 5 minutes off, and we're off to Japan, and then 30 seconds off, and then we're in America. And then we annex the Sudetenland and probably collapse. I made that statement last year, that at the end of that European and American tour of the album, that we'd probably collapse over Christmas, which unfortunately came true with my leg going, and I always did spend Christmas in hospital. So I should be careful about making light-hearted remarks.
Who are you touring Europe with?
Ourselves. We're taking Slade, which should be good. Should be a good rock and roll show. We're doing all Scandinavia, Sweden, Norway. I'm always tempted to, Germany, Switzerland, good, all over the place. The passport's going to take a severe battering.
What about America? Because last time you were out there, you had a
Mr. Tull.
less than wonderful time with Tull.
Oh, it wasn't really, I don't know. Yeah, it's not rock and roll with that situation. You know, we did very well. Moody was a star, really, his superb slide playing, which is essentially an American style of guitar playing. But the limitations that were put on us was like so businesslike. It was not true. We went out with AC/DC in Europe, and that was a ball. I mean, we got on really well with them. But I think America will become another snake pit within the next 12 months. Texas was great. We did well in Texas. It's a good place for rock and roll, but I don't know. It's still, for me, I find when I play, there you go, Liverpool, Glasgow, Newcastle, Hamburg, Tokyo, I mean all these like really industrial areas, the release that rock and roll is giving the audience is just fantastic. Play California, it's hey, sunshine and alright, let's get the surfboards out, you know what I mean? And there's not really that desperation to kick ass.
Let's have another track off the album, which is also the B-side of the single, which
I like this song. Yeah.
In some ways, I think it's a double A side, not a B side of a single, because this is one that you can really get your moody teeth into, if you'll pardon the expression, Mickey.
The initial idea came up from Bernie. You know, we were rehearsing for, I think it was the Reading Festival, and he said, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And he started playing these chords. And that's how Bernie and me write a lot of the time. We sort of would come up with little bits and pieces of ideas and then work together towards it. And I got the feeling of that typical sort of what is it when you write it yourself? Is it autobiographical about yourself?
Probably.
Yeah. So one of them, automobile things. But I wrote, you know, about once again, like the Lonely Days or Blind Man Continuo. And I think that came out great. I love the piece in the middle where Mickey, Bernie and me, the three-piece suite, do the little vocal piece. I like that song.
Let's hear it, Child of Babylon. Oh, we're working through the tracks. We're on side 2 of the Whitesnake album. Come and get it. And we're talking to David Coverdale.
Coming to the naughty one.
Would I lie to you?
Yeah. Would you? I don't know. Just to get in your fruit of the looms.
There seems to be more of a risque element. Oh, here comes the wine waiter.
Oh, super. I love it. This is Magnet here pouring the Perrier water. Thank you very much. We should have Lemmy up here in a minute. And striking of... Oh, God, the sins of this man. Where are we?
Would I lie to you? A rude song.
Yeah, it was 2 girls sent a badge to me with that, would I lie to you, just to get in your pants, which I thought was great, and a great sort of idea for a rock and roll song. And it's tongue-in-cheek, but quite serious at the same time. In the centre part, I was going to do some kind of a monologue with those, you know, the greatest lies in the world. With the most innocent one, of course, is the checks in the post, or you know. But this time, like, I'll only put it in a little bit. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I poo-pooed that. Maybe live, I don't know, just see how much I can get away with. But I can't believe that Radio 1 are hammering it, you know, and with the risque line in it. But I think that's going to be a good tune live.
I think I would agree with
that. But people do lie to get what they want, don't they?
Oh, I think so.
But at least I own up at the end and say, I think so. I think so.
Would I Lie to You from Whitesnake? We're working through these album tracks. This is the total review. I think this is the most tracks we've squeezed into one of our interviews in all the times we've talked. And I think we've covered all the why did you leave Deep Purple questions.
Oh, I'll leave that. Leave it out.
And what's your favourite colour, and favourite TV programmes?
Not the 9 o'clock news. What about All Over Broken Glass for Pamela Stevenson? She lives near me as well, apparently.
I see. Well, we were coming on to the next track called Girl. I suppose it wasn't written with her in mind by any chance.
No. Girl was great because Neil and I came up with the original idea. of doing a very slow, dirty rhythm and blues kind of track. And Bernie wanted, I was sort of busking away, because a lot of the time when you're jamming around, different ideas just sort of come, and you work around those ideas. And Bernie thought the idea of I'm just a pretty little crazy white boy. Which I said, well, you can sing it, mate. I ain't singing that. A lot of it, to be honest, although I'll be perfectly honest, damaged my entire credibility. A lot of it, if you read carefully, is about my daughter, who's 2.5 years old, coming up to 3, just taking advantage of me. Because although I have certainly been taken advantage of by women throughout my life, and hopefully will continue with that, there's nobody's ever wound me round the little finger like she does. I mean, get me crawling all over the place and playing, you know. But it's also a bit naughty about adult women as well. It's a double-edged one.
That's Girl from the Whitesnake album as well, which is out when? I mean, there seems to be some confusion about the release date of Come and Get It.
I don't know, I saw a letter actually that was sent to Magnet, because Magnet of course got his own Liverpool fan club now. Was sent to him when he's not being a wine waiter, saying that there's confusion over the release date. As far as I know, it's the 6th of April, which I don't know when you're broadcasting, but, or casting broads.
This will be out by then.
I think it's Monday the album is released. The 6th of April, presumably.
He's nodding his head.
Well, he hasn't had beer yet. Oh, he has had beer.
Right, well, we sorted that little problem out, because I'd had a few letters as well from people saying that they were
drinking too much.
That he was drinking too much, and that they were also unsure as to when the album was being released. What about open-air gigs in the summer, or is that
open air?
A state secret?
I know what you're getting at.
I think it's no longer much of a secret now, is it?
I don't know. There's still actually nothing confirmed, and I'm not going to make any promises and find myself in the excrement as I have done in the past. We've been approached by some friends of ours to do an open air festival, a very big one, at the end of the summer. And I'm very keen to do that festival because I foresee that that's going to be the only opportunity before Christmas that we may be able to do the UK again after the tour. Because it is a very concentrated British tour. And I don't want anybody, not only in Liverpool, but in the UK, feeling as if Whitesnake are trying to take over the world and other territories and just ignoring the UK. But we'll see. I can't say that we are, and I'm not saying we're not.
But you might be. And the last track on side 2 is Hit and Run, which is another one in the hot stuff mould, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good earthy song.
It's an idea that Mickey came up with, because it's really strange at times when you're writing for slide guitar. It's completely different from writing songs for normal guitar tuning. And Mickey came up with the initial idea for this song, and it just took shape in about 10 minutes. We went down and recorded it. It was funny actually, because I said to Pacey, I'd love you to intro this with a drum fill, and he said, oh, he couldn't feel anything, which is no disrespect to Ian as a drummer, but he couldn't sort of feel an intro, and we ended up all cracking up. I said, remember the Trogs tape? You know, where it Split Your Hands. I don't know whether you've ever heard it. It's an outtake years ago from the Trogs. I mean, a few people might be a bit too young, but there was a great outtake where Reg Presley, who was the singer, was saying to the drummer, like, can you split your hands and hit the top floor, snare, tom, cymbal? And then the description would be of, like, Animal on the Muppet Show, you know. It's just hilarious. And I was saying to Pacey, just think of Dag Dag Dagenham for the intro, which came out, you know, if you listen to it, it's Dag Dag Dagenham, you know, but fabulous intro. But it's a great, I think it's a good sex song, if you'll excuse. You know, I've fallen right into the hands of the liberation movement on this one. But a great solo from Marston and a terrific solo from Moody. And fabulous Dag Dag Dagenham drumming from Ian Pace. Hit and Run.
What about doing a Police or a Queen?
And I'm not doing anything for that. But last time, the Police have the best balls in the country. I used to do Police balls all the time when I was a local semi-pro musician. It was great seeing all the constables absolutely paralytic and driving home and not getting arrested. But they are famous for the balls. Are you talking about?
I was thinking
dinner dances
well,
on
Sting? No, I was thinking in terms of. But I enjoyed your monologue. I was thinking in terms of Brazil and Guatemala and Thailand or Thailand.
Thailand, an English-speaking Thai. Thailand, I'm very interested in. It's more interesting than Disneyland for a start. You walked into that one, Philippa. Hang on, Thailand. Thailand.
That's yes. The one.
Well, I have been known to wear a tie now and again, but it's not motivated me to go to the place where they came from.
I mean, Queen have just done tremendous business in South America, haven't they? 100,000-seater stadiums. And
no, we were actually, the former Dick Pimple that I was with, we were the first band ever to be asked to go to South America, which was like 40 years ago. And for one or two members of the band thought it was a ludicrous idea, so we didn't go. And Alice Cooper went instead and frightened everybody to death, apparently. They had like 100,000-seater stadiums. As soon as Alice Cooper started, everybody ran out. couldn't handle the volume at all, I'd like to see it become more of a rock and roll market than Garver, and that politically I don't fancy the idea at all, to go to that kind of place, because I had one of the worst experiences in my life going to in Indonesia, which we were guaranteed, and we played to like 300,000 people in 2 days, but the stuff that went down all around that was just horrendous, and I would rather not go, to be honest. I'd rather go to Bognor,
Well, I can't comment on that, having never been to Bognor.
You comment on everything else.
Well, I try not to.
I'm tempted to make a remark about, do you ever see Faulty Towers? I can't take my eyes off these things. You've got ingots hanging...
Ignots. My old Ignots.
You ever see that one where there's a guy smuggling a woman into his room and John Cleese was trying to stop him? And he was covered with Ignots. And his wife Sybil thought it was great stuff, and he says that type would wear a dog turd round its neck if it was covered in gold. I just hear you jangling away in the corner, and that's definitely going to be edited.
I don't know. I mean, these are the bits that the people want to hear. This last track on the album is a classic, I think, or it will be by the time everybody's got to hear it.
I reckon it's one of the best I've ever written.
It's certainly in there with the Blind Man's and Ain't Gonna Cry No More.
I just feel that kind of thing very much. I feel doing the sad side of my personality and then coming out with the arrogant side. And it's, if you read the words or listen to the song, it's like the insecure person speaking at the beginning, and then getting the band come in and make that physical statement. That it's exactly how I am. There's no medium with me. I'm extreme. And I like it very much.
Till the Day I Die, last track on the album. Superb song. Hopefully we'll be seeing you do that live at D-Side.
Yes, and we're coming to D-Side on the 15th. And I want to see everybody there. No moaning, no complaining, just in good voice. And we're going to give you some steaming rock and roll.
Just to sort of cover that last point again about we're making about the getting hold of the album and the single, we seem to have had one or two letters from people that are having difficulty getting hold of it in our area. If they are having any difficulty, is there any way they can sort of make a noise about it?
Yes, you should call Charles Webster at EMI and give him some verbal, because if there's any mess-ups with this new album or single or whatever, there will be a period of lynching.
David, thanks very much indeed for letting me come down to talk to you on your very valuable Sunday afternoons off.
You're making me feel like some kind of bloated star. Thank you for coming down. I'm sorry I couldn't come up.
Pleasure. What's your sort of immediate itinerary then before the tour?
To go down the bar and have a drink with Lemmy.
That sounds like a very, very favourite idea. Thanks very much for the chat. Best of luck with the album, which I still reckon is going to be a monster. And we'll see you on the 15th at D-Side.
I look forward to it. Cheers, Phil.